Welcome to the Gut Feeling podcast. I am Teresa Valentine, and this is a podcast where I love digging into how we can become more ourselves in a hectic world, in a stressful world, in a world filled with a lot of kind of right and wrong, regards to how we're supposed to look like, our opinions, what success is, instead of really digging into what this looks like for ourselves. So today I want to dive into a topic which is called aliveness. It's something I bring in a lot when I coach, when I facilitate workshops, when I do talks, and even when I'm with people myself. It's something that really helps us realize and be aware of our inner selves while we're with other people. It was so interesting. I went to a retreat a year ago, and we were all like in this group, and when we got this exercise where everyone was supposed to go up on stage and talk about whatever was live here and now. So you weren't allowed to prepare anything. You weren't allowed to perform, and the facilitator really was like, nope, that's not what's alive. What's really alive. And what was interesting was that when everyone went up on stage and talked about what was alive in them, it was so grasping. Like, no matter what people said or didn't say, it really drew in the attention. And I think this just shows how we lose each other, because we are not talking from an inner aliveness. We are talking from performing and pretending and pushing ourselves to be something that we're not in the moment. So it's really cool to really practice staying with what is alive. And even, sometimes it might be like, oh, but then I don't know what to talk about. And I say all of these things so to create connection. But the thing is, often it feels a bit forced. It can feel a bit anxious when we push it forward, and it doesn't feel authentic. And for the other person, it might feel a bit like clingy, like, oh, you're trying to create something, but it doesn't feel real. It creates like a feeling of disconnection between people. And if you experience this, you know what I mean. And if you haven't, I really encourage you to look into that in your own life, both when you yourself are going into performance and really trying to force a connection, instead of really just being honest with what's going on the inside, and just really tuning in and allowing the time to come for what is alive. Like, sometimes I can feel with people that I'm nervous. Maybe it's people that I sometimes find like, oh, I really want to connect with this person, but I don't know what to say when I'm around them. I go a bit silent. And now, more and more, I practice actually just allowing myself to be silent, because that is what is alive with this person in the beginning. And then eventually just being like, okay, whenever some curiosity about this person's come up, then I start talking. And it's so interesting, because then it's not this kind of like, oh, how was your day? How are you doing? How's this and this? And it's not kind of like this interview and kind of like, oh, I know this happened in her life, so I'm going to check up on it because I know that's going to create a conversation. But it doesn't really feel alive. It's not something we're curious about. So we're kind of lying a bit in this interaction, so to create the false connection. But the thing is, it doesn't create the true connection, because we are kind of, we're forcing it. So it comes from kind of this anxious, like, oh, I need to talk, I need to push something forward. But you might actually not care about the answer. So you're trying to kind of pretend to care about something that you don't. And it's actually a bit disrespectful towards the other person as well, if you're asking about something vulnerable and you actually don't really care about their answer. So, the standard, like, how are you doing kind of question, when you don't really care, then don't ask it. So it's not alive. It's just something that we say because we don't know what else to say. And I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying it's wrong to use all of these kind of practice sentences. However, there's so much power in exactly just feeling into what is alive and creating that connection between the inside world and the outside world, and really, not pretending that something is there that is not. And what was also so interesting for me is that I used to have major stage fright. And when I went up on stage with this aliveness, all of that stage fright kind of disappeared because I could just be. And this is an aliveness that we can bring into a conversation and something we want to talk about. For example, with me, today I was a bit like, oh, do I really want to record a podcast today? I had planned to do it, but I'm a bit emotional. And I don't, like, when I'm emotional, maybe I'm not so extroverted and I don't want to share things and I don't want to challenge myself. And then I was like, okay, but how can I still record my podcast with an aliveness and be with my feelings? And of course, like, for me, like, creating my podcast is quite flexible because I can choose the topics. So the topic that I was going to record today, I decided I'm going to postpone a bit because it's vulnerable. And right now I don't need that to that extent. I still want to share it. It's about deciding on whether or not to have children and how to make that decision, and really, yeah, how to figure out if it's for you or not. Because I know some people who think that they don't want to have kids, and then that can be, a big topic for them. And it's been in my own life, so I want to share about that. But that feels quite vulnerable, and it goes into a lot of things in my life that, yeah, it's exposing me. Well, this topic is less exposing myself. And of course, sometimes we have something planned that we need to go through with, but to a big extent in our lives, we still have some flexibility of the when and where. Right now it feels more alive to, for example, be more introverted and be a bit more quiet for a while, and afterwards maybe we want to be more kind of out there, and even, just allowing the liveness of the moment. It can last for 5 minutes. It can be with ourselves or with another person, can switch our aliveness, so that if we're feeling a blockage inside of us, for example, I'm anxious, or I'm feeling anxious today, then this aliveness can change because we give attention to it and we allow it, we observe it, and by just being with it, suddenly we open up space for other things as well, other feelings, and what we were supposed to do. But the more we kind of push, the anxiety away, the more it actually grows. I've been exploring that quite a lot in my own life lately because I'm challenging myself. I'm doing things that I find is a bit on outside the comfort zone, and then I can hit kind of like a level where I'm like, oh, now I really just, I just want to break, I just really want to cuddle myself, and I want to, I want to stop because I'm feeling this anxiety, and then I'm kind of judging myself because I'm feeling this anxiety or nervousness or whatever it is. And what I'm doing then is I'm kind of like, I'm pushing it a bit away. I'm kind of like judging it as something that shouldn't be there. But the thing is, I'm doing things a bit on the edge of my comfort zone. Living on the tender edge is like Rick Smith. He's a great guy. He's calling it that. That was a guy I went to this retreat with. You should check it out. He has great retreats. I also wrote some books. Yeah, living on the tender edge. And when we do that, we can both feel our anxiety and fear, But the thing is, at the same time, there's so many other feelings of joy, of excitement, of like, oh, I really, really want this, oh my God, this feels good. And then I feel mastery, after I did it. And I'm like, wow, I'm learning, I'm growing. But there is this anxiety on the tender edge, and kind of like also giving that some attention and just observing, like, okay, it's there. Maybe I'm feeling a bit of kind of pressure in my chest. I can sometimes feel like this stinging in my chest, and sometimes in my throat, it's like it feels I'm being choked. Like my whole throat just feels like it's like blocked and big and like, oh, I can't breathe. But then kind of like breathing into it and just being like, okay, but that's not so strange. This is a bit outside my comfort zone. I'm practicing. I'm really showing something that is vulnerable to me. I'm showing something I really want to master in life to a lot of people. And that's scary because, my fear of rejection grows in this space when I'm being real. So it's not strange. And whenever I kind of give that love and attention, this feeling of like, that's okay. It's okay to be scared, but let's do it anyway. And we can do it. We will manage. That feels quite great. I just like just saying it. I'm just like, I'm feeling almost light and bubbly, and I feel so good. Yeah. Aliveness. It changes our lives when we do this because we start showing up as who we truly are. And the connection with the people that we meet also starts changing, which is so beautiful because suddenly people start getting to know you for who you are, and you get to know people for who they are, and you dare to open up and they dare to open up, and this is true belonging. Brene Brown, really good author. If you haven't read her books, really do it. She also has a great podcast. She's my big hero. She has done research on feelings, and but most of all, kind of what makes us happy in life. And vulnerability is really one of the things that she brings up as super important. And it's what we usually do in relationships is that we try to fit in. We pretend to be something that we're not, instead of thinking that we are good enough just as we are. And you probably know the difference between the friendships that you have where you try to be cool and you try to fit in and you try to do what the group is doing so to be liked. Take a moment to feel into how that feels like when you don't dare to be honest about who you are, you don't dare to show who you are, and you really keep big parts of yourself hidden. And then you can think about the people that you feel really, really safe with. The people that listen to you no matter what you share, who hold kind of, not hold you, I don't like holding space, but just kind of being space. Because when we hold space for someone, I'm taking a side that's not a side story here, but when we're holding space, it's a grasping. We're kind of controlling the situation. But the person who's just like being there for you without kind of expecting an outcome, without pushing you in any direction, but really just allowing you to be. That feels quite amazing. It's a very different experience. And these are the people that we feel true belong with because they're like, they just accept us for who we are. They don't push us into being something we're not. And when they challenge us, when they coach us, when they're there with us, they want to see us become more of who we are. They want to see us blossom and shine, but not from pretending. They don't want us to start pretending. They don't want us to become something we're not. They trust that we know best who we are. And they really support us on that journey. And it's so different than the people who try to push us into becoming more like themselves. And I must admit, like, I've done that, and sometimes I can probably still do that a bit, because when people change and when people want to do things that I don't want to do, when they take different directions in life, it can feel scary, because it might mean that they're gonna move. It might mean that they're gonna be less in my life. It definitely means that my life is gonna change and our relationship is gonna change. And that's sad. It brings, the bittersweetness of like, this might be the last moment. This might never happen again. And the thing is, whatever great we experience in life, there's bittersweetness because there's the awareness. This is also Brené Brown is really beautiful. She defines bittersweetness as the awareness of the passage of time, because you can really feel, the appreciation for this moment. You're so grateful for what is ever is happening and so beautiful, and you never wanted to change. So you have the bittersweetness. So it's kind of like the joy, the amazing joy and love, but also the sadness, the immense sadness when we feel that this is going towards an end. And you probably had these moments in life. And that's one of the reasons why we kind of like, we hold back when people change, because it's like, oh, I don't want this to ever end. This is so amazing. And I just talking about it, it like makes me sad, because I definitely had these moments of life, I remember like with my previous boyfriends, like I was so present with that last moment where when I knew like when we leave each other right now, it's never going to be the same. It's such a beautiful moment to be present in, when it's kind of like when he goes out that door or when we leave each other now, our relationship has changed and are not boyfriend, girlfriend. And, we're going to need distance, and now we're going to kind of detach. That's a big one, that detachment and that letting go of like, this is right, but it's so painful. And I don't have kids myself, but it's like when the kids leave, the house, it's the same feeling. And even, holiday you spent with someone, and it's so beautiful. It's so amazing. It's this perfect moment in time that you share, and you can't recreate it. Yeah. But still, there are going to be other moments with other people in other places. So with that, to also believe that there can be more amazing experiences in life, they're going to look different. They might be with other people, but I have this amazing thing, which means that can have other amazing things in life. And that's so amazing. So instead of grasping onto something that has been, letting go and being like, if this person is meant to be in my life, I will, if if I'm gonna if I'm supposed to experience more such moments, I will, because I will also create them. I will invite for it. I will initiate it. I will prioritize it. I will choose it. And if these are the kind of people I like, then I'm going to make sure that I have those kind of people in my life. Even though this person isn't going to be part of my life, I'm going to attract similar people. And this is actually quite amazing also. Like, I don't know if you know about the term, it's called being hooked on someone. And we can be that both on like in the celebrities, someone that we know and look up to, can be a parent, but it can also be a partner or someone we would love to be our partner. It's this kind of love that is created where we get hooked on a person that isn't necessarily available and we can't forget about them. And in this, it's also, the letting go, of that. These people hook us in because often they see something in us. It often happens with a person that meets you on a level of belonging that no one else have ever done before. Someone that sees you in something vulnerable and acknowledge you. And this feels so addictive and so good because we haven't experienced it with someone else. And then we're thinking, oh, this person talks about this thing, or this person believes in this thing, this person sees me in this way. So I kind of need them. And we're really like grasping for them and like, I need you. It becomes like a drug. It's an addiction. But when we look into belonging, and then if we see like, what did this person open up for me? How did this person see me in a way that felt so good? And how can I open up in the same way to someone else? Because gradually when we do that, that person, we don't need anymore. Because then we see that, oh, there's multiple people. And actually it's all about me opening up. And sometimes it can be a person that especially sees you in this way, someone that you can talk about something specific, and they really like, they're there for you, and that can feel amazing. And it's vulnerable, and it's beautiful. So really nurturing that and really being grateful for it, but also letting go and realizing this isn't unique. You can have that with multiple people. Being hooked is also, when we put someone on a pedestal and they have a confidence that we really want. And we're kind of like, oh, if I'm with them, I will also have this confidence. And it may be, this person also, that because of their confidence, they made you feel in a way that was just so amazing. And it's like, oh, I want more of that in my life. So then it can also be about building that confidence. This is, two things. It feels quite great. I talk a lot about, creating our own lives and taking back power of our own lives, and not waiting around for someone to kind of rescue us. Yeah. And when we are with our aliveness, we get to know who we are. And I, for example, me, I realize how often I talk because I'm anxious. And I just say things as a social thing to make people talk. So I'm kind of controlling the situation like that. And now I'm kind of like, how can I not ask questions that doesn't feel alive? How can I not share things that doesn't feel alive? And then comes in also, my fear, because sometimes now I feel, isn't this alive? But there can also be a fear there, anxiety, and it's like, I do want to share, but it's scary. And then suddenly, more of this starts showing up. And that's a different kind of, it comes with some other aliveness, which is, the strong feelings of maybe anxiety. But then talking about like, I'm really scared of sharing this. I really want to, but it's very vulnerable. And taking some breaths and being with the body. And, one thing is, the sharing with words. Another thing is, doing something and really feeling into, I really wanted salsa dance. Oh, but there's the fear at the same time. And that aliveness is hindering me. So are you seeing how there's also blockage in the aliveness? So we're kind of distracting ourselves from what is alive because it comes from some uncomfortable feelings. It comes from bodily sensations that we kind of want to distract ourselves from. So that's why we aren't alive, because it comes with a lot. But it's alive and it's who we are. And the more we manage to be with it and give space to it, the less scary it feels. And the more we create belonging, the more we actually do the things we want to do. And we stop doing the things that actually don't give us something. It just kind of fills our life with words. And so we socialize, but actually it's just like filling of time instead of really, filling our cup and creating like the connections that I think most of us actually want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Andrew is a Valentine. I'm a facilitator and a coach, and I do talks. You can find information about me in the podcast description. You find me on YouTube and as in podcast format, and I also have a webpage. I'm on LinkedIn and all of these things. Please contact me if you want any service. And in this topic. And also, right now, I want to just spend a couple of minutes tuning into the body and feeling how it is to be you right now and me right now. After talking about this topic, which is such a great topic, I find it so inspiring and still so vulnerable and sometimes so challenging. Taking a couple of deep breaths. Yeah. I'm inviting you to do the simplest vagus nerve exercise, which is looking to your left until you yawn. And if the yawn doesn't come, you can just wait. And if it comes, you can look to the other side. Oh, yeah. So our eyes store a lot of tension. So doing this exercise really helps calm the nervous system very fast and goes from sympathetic to parasympathetic. If it takes you a long time to yawn, it means that your nervous system is quite activated and that it can be good for you to maybe do some meditation, yoga, bring in some rest in your life in some way, maybe do some somatic exercises of, listening to your favorite music, maybe on some calming music, meditation music, frequencies, jazz, classical, or you want to do a shake off. Dancing is so good because it really brings, it it's so somatic. You have your ears, you're moving your body, you're feeling the bass, and when just connecting, your whole self and just moving with the music in a meditative way. And when you see me moving now, it's not like I'm moving and just like dunk, 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 performing way. It's really just feeling like, how does the body want to feel right now? And this really, yeah, it's really grounding. So recommend it if you're feeling that you're not present in your body and you're a lot in your head. Yeah, I'm gonna do some videos on that eventually. A lot is boiling inside my head of ideas and things I want to share to the world. So that's great. Yeah. I'm gonna do like namaste. Yeah. Create yourself a day full of aliveness. Or not. Whatever you want. Be you. Bye.